Hello all. Wonderful morning to all the participants who have joined the webinar today. You're looking at the Manage Engine portfolio of the endpoint management solutions. So these are the list of products what we offer under endpoint management and security solutions under Manage Engine. And today I am going to extensively talk about the Mobile Device Manager Plus product. So I welcome you all for the Mobile Device Manager Plus training program. Right. So my name is Ruben Karthik, and I'm associated with Manage Engine for the past 6 years. And I do the training and implementation for the endpoint management solutions. And here is our training schedule. It is a 3-week series, and we have made it in a way where the first week of the training, it will be about the device onboarding, how you can enroll your devices into the R Manage Engine MDM, and how you can apply certain corporate configurations to your devices. And second week, it will be about app management and device, the modern management aspect of Windows 10 and MacBook using our MDM module. And all the registered participants will also get the recorded training video once after the webinar is over. And if you, the viewers, would like to revisit the training videos or the question and answers discussed during the training program, you can always visit the below mentioned URL. And this is our training agenda. First, I'm going to give you a quick overview about the Mobile Device Manager Plus product, the general introduction about MDM and the architecture and ports required to manage the devices, and how exactly an end device will be managed from our MDM solution. And this section is important for those who are evaluating the product and would like to know or understand the MDM architecture. Followed by, I will demonstrate how you can onboard the devices which are already in use and the new devices. You can apply certain configurations and policies to your devices just to make the device usage ready, and how you can separate the corporate information on the employee's own phone or say BYOD devices, how you can containerize and secure the corporate information on such devices, followed by how we can restrict the unauthorized access to your corporate email accounts, how we can prevent such access using our MDM. And at the end, based on my support experience, I'm also going to share you some real-time scenarios and the best solutions for it. Meanwhile, if you, the viewers, have any question, please feel free to post them in the chat. And I have an expert panel right here with me who can answer your questions then and there. All right, let me give you the overview of Mobile Device Manager Plus solution. And these are the list of operating systems which can be managed from our MDM. It could be an iOS device or an Android or Windows, which can be a Windows phone or a laptop. And also Chromebooks can be managed under our MDM solution. So these are the list of operating systems and the device types which will be managed from Mobile Device Manager Plus. And also, the Mobile Device Manager Plus solution is available in 3 flavors. One, as an add-on component to the Desktop Central solution, which is an integrated desktop and mobile device management software. And if in case if you're looking for a dedicated solution only to manage mobile devices, then we also have Manage Engine Mobile Device Manager Plus product, which is available on both on-premise and cloud. And if we have any MSP audience today who wish to manage devices from different companies, and then we also offer the Mobile Device Manager Plus MSP architecture, which is available on both on-premise and cloud. And we understand it's better to integrate with as many applications as possible in order to ease the management scope. That is why we offer the integration of Mobile Device Manager Plus with a help desk tool called Manage Engine Service Plus, which is our own in-house product. Likewise, you can also integrate our MDM with other help desk solutions like Spiceworks, Jira Service Desk, Zendesk, and ServiceNow. And you can also integrate with a client relationship management software called Zoho CRM and an app development software called Zoho Creator. So these are the list of integrations what we support with respect to Mobile Device Manager Plus solution. In case if you're looking to integrate with any other solution apart from this, please make use of the API details which is available in the below mentioned URL, and you can perform a seamless integration. And this is the mobile device manager plus architecture. And in order to explain the architecture in a better way, let me take an example. Let's assume as an administrator, you wish to find out a location of an iPhone or an Android device. So what you will do, you log into the MDM console, enable the command called locate device, which in turn will be sent to the notification services, right? So there are three major components which plays a role. First, the MDM server. Second, the notification services. When it comes to managing an iOS device, you have to, the Apple push notification service will get the commands from MDM server and will wake up the device, which in turn will contact the server and execute the command. So in this example, if I want to find out a location of an iPhone, I'll just enable locate device command from the MDM console, which will be sent to the notification service like Apple push notification service, and which in turn will wake up the iPhone using the UDID details of the device. And this device will contact back to the server to know what commands to execute. And if it is geo tracking, it will fetch the geo coordinates and send back to the console. And as an administrator, I'll be able to see that under the product UI. And here, if in case, if you don't wish to expose your MDM server to the internet, where the device doesn't have to contact over the internet, then you can place an additional component called secure gateway, which can be placed in your DMZ zone, which will only be exposed to your mobile devices. Okay, so if you perform any command like geo tracking or app distribution or policy distribution, all of these commands will be sent to the notification service, and the device will contact the secure gateway, which in turn will redirect the communication to the internal MDM server. So this way you can say you can secure your internal MDM, and this is essential when it comes to an on-premise solution. And secure gateway or the dependency will not play a role when it comes to an MDM cloud instance. Moreover, if you wish to discuss more about the product architecture based on the requirement what you have, you can always comment in the chat section for a free online demonstration where our technician can schedule a one-on-one session and help you with setting up the product on your end. And these are the list of ports needs to be allowed when it comes to an MDM on-premise solution. Like 9383 is the HTTPS port, which is used for the devices to communicate with MDM server. And in order to know more about the inbound and outbound port information, please visit the below mentioned URL. And from the architecture, you would know the solution also follows the client and server architecture. So be it any number of devices you wish to manage, you have to have the MDM profile installed on them. When it comes to iOS, Windows, and Chromebooks, you don't necessarily need to install the app, or you have to download the app and install it on the client. We just leverage the native OS client present on these operating system and will help it for the management. But when it comes to managing an Android device, you need to necessarily have the ME MDM app, and there are different ways of enrollment we have based on the management you're looking for, and that's what I'm going to cover in today's session. And before I explain the ways of enrollment, let me just take you to the product console and give you a quick tour about the options and tabs available in our MDM solution. So this is how the MDM standalone solution looks like. Under Home tab, an administrator can see what are the smartphones or what the device types they have, how many smartphones and how many laptop or tablets they do manage, and also the OS wise, how many Android or iOS devices you have. You'll be able to check these information. And in case if you have a role-based administration, you can know which technician have performed what actions on the devices can also be seen under the audit log details. Under device management, you can group your devices, and this is where you apply policies and distribute applications or document, and even if you wish to take remote control, you'll be able to do. So all the management features will be available under this particular section. And inventory helps you to check the asset details of the devices you have, the OS informations or the serial number details. So all of the asset details can be seen from this inventory section. And also you'll be able to see the location data. So all the device location in one single map can also be seen. And under enrollment, this is where you onboard your devices, and which I'm going to cover in today's session. Under reporting, you could find some basic predefined reports available in the product. And if you wish to build your own reports, so based on the columns you're looking for, you do have an option to generate a query report and get the required columns. And even you can schedule these reports, either the predefined ones or the query report, on a periodic basis. And under admin tab, we'll be able to do the basic administration actions like creating a user and defining a scope to the technician, rebranding your own company logo instead of Manage Engine Mobile Device Manager Place. And so you also have the support options here in case if you, the evaluators or the customers, have any questions. We also offer the live chat, which is a 24/5 live chat channel. You can get in touch with our technicians at any time and we'll be able to help you. And if you wish to talk or discuss about the issue over phone, you can also find the toll-free number, or if you would like to create a support ticket, you also have these options. And as I said, the MDM is also available as an add-on to Desktop Central. The Desktop Central console looks like this, where you'll be able to patch your computers, image your computers, and also you can take remote control and do some browser management. So along with these capabilities, you'll also be able to manage your mobile devices under Desktop Central. The Desktop Central is an integrated solution, whereas the MDM is a dedicated standalone product only to manage your mobile devices. And if you have MacBooks and Windows 10 laptops, you'll be able to do some modern management activities like geo-tracking or remote Wi-Fi, which will be covered in the last week of the training program. So now let me explain you the different ways of enrolling your devices. And in order to illustrate in a better way, let me consider myself as an admin, and I work for an organization called Zilker, and I would have to manage devices which are already in use. It could be an employee's own phone, or it could be a company device which is already been distributed to the employees and which I have to register with the MDM for management. Devices which are already in use. At the same time, my company also have planned to expand, so they have bought some new devices which should also be enrolled into the management scope. So let's go one by one. First, I'm going to give you the process of enrolling the devices which are already in use. So there are two options available when it comes to enrolling a devices which are already in use, which is via email invite or an SMS invite. And second method is through self-enrollment. So first, let me show you how you can send an invitation either via email or an SMS, and how you can onboard the devices into the management scope. And to talk about the benefits of doing this way for the devices which are already in use, when you enroll these devices, it separates the personal application and corporate applications. Once after you install the MDM profile or enroll the devices into the management, and whatever application you distribute through our product will be put up in the corporate workspace, and which can be separately managed. And also you can restrict sharing the data from personal application to corporate application or vice versa, just to make sure the corporate informations are safe. And also you can apply a separate passcode policy just to access your corporate workspace, which is available on the device. So you'll be able to see those informations in detail in the upcoming slides. So these are certain benefits when you leverage or when you enroll the devices which are already in use. So like I said about the enrollment with invite, this is the diagrammatic workflow. As an administrator, I can send an invitation to a user via email or an SMS, which in turn the user has to accept the invitation just by clicking on a URL or scanning the QR code, which will download the MDM profile and gets the device registered with our MDM. Let me show you the process of doing this. In order to send an email invite, you have to go to the enrollment section. Like I said, enrollment is where you onboard your devices. And when it comes to enrolling an iOS device, you have to have the APNS certificate configured. So to manage an Apple device, either an iOS or iPhone or an iPad, you have to configure APNS, which is a mandatory process And since I've already integrated my MDM with Apple Push Notification Service, I could see some message like this. In case if you, the viewers, haven't integrated your MDM instance with Apple Push Notification Services, then you would see an option like this, which is a simple procedures to integrate with again. So you must have an Apple ID. And in case if you don't have a corporate Apple ID, you can just click on this option, create a new Apple ID for your business purpose, and then download the vendor certificate from our Manage Engine MDM. Once you downloaded this file, you can sign into the Apple Push Notification portal and upload the certificate in the APNS portal, which in turn will generate a new certificate file, which has to be uploaded back here. So you get a file from our solution, upload it in APNS portal, then get a certificate file from there, upload back here. So this is like a two-way handshake, which makes sure your instance are safe and secure to manage the Apple devices. So this process is mandatory only when you have a plan to manage iOS devices, but when it comes to Android or Windows or Chromebooks, you don't have to follow this procedure. So let's assume I've already integrated the APNS certificate with my MDM instance. So in order to enroll a device which is already in use via email invite, I'll go to the enrollment section, devices, and I can choose the appropriate OS. So in this use case, I would like to take as I want to enroll an iOS device. So I'll choose this option. And if I have the device with me on hand, I can either send it to myself where I can perform the enrollment process. If not, if the devices are already been distributed, then I can update the user email address here and I can send an invite. So when I do this way, I can also choose to which group the devices has to be added. This gives an advantage where whatever policies or whatever restriction and application you distributed to a group will be automatically applied to the invite or the user who enrolls this way. Let's assume I'm adding this device to finance department and I click on next. So this is how exactly the end user will get an email template to their email address. And as a end user, they have to either click on this URL or they can just open the camera from their iPhone or iPad and scan this QR code, which will automatically download the MDM profile and prompt the users to enter the OTP. Thus, the user has to update or enter this OTP information to authenticate the MDM registration. So this is the process which the end user has to do. And let me show you how exactly UI or the user will see an interface when they try to enroll the devices with email invite. So let's assume I have accepted or I've accessed the QR code. Once I click on the URL or access this QR code, it will automatically bring up to this page where you can just click on continue in order to download the MDM profile. So when you click on continue and allow, the MDM profile will be downloaded to the device. And we recommend you to click on this profile downloaded section in order to verify whether this particular profile has been downloaded from the appropriate MDM source. Then the user has to click on install, which verifies or trusts the management, which in turn will prompt the users to provide their OTP. So this is how the end user has to complete the registration. As an administrator, I will send the email invites to the user, and the end user has to either click on this URL or scan the QR code and follow the on-screen instruction to complete the onboarding process. So once the user completes the enrollment process, you would see the devices under the Manage tab. In case if the end user haven't done the enrollment process, and you could see all the enrollment requests under this enrollment pending section. And while doing this way, either with sending an email invite or an SMS invite, the OTP is valid only for 7 days. So the end user has to complete the registration within the 7 days. And also this invite is specific to every user. So if you send an invite to user A, only he'll be able to log in from his email account and complete the registration. So this is one method where, and as an administrator, can onboard the devices which are already in use. And the other way is to go with self-enrollment. It's like sharing in as an administrator. I'll share this particular self-enrollment URL to all my users who wish to register the devices into the MDM can access this link, and they have to provide their AD username and password to complete the registration. So here, the integration with Active Directory services are mandatory because when you go with an email invite, our product itself will share an OTP for authentication purpose. But when it comes to self-enrollment, any user who would have access to this particular URL can register their devices into the management scope. So once they do, they get access to the corporate workspace and the corporate applications or document which has been shared to all the users. So in order to prevent that, we have made this AD integration mandatory. And also as an administrator, you can either allow the self-enrollment process to all the users in your Active Directory or only to selected group of users. So when you go with this option, so whichever groups you have selected, only those users can bring their own devices and have this workspace account enabled. Moreover, I would like to restrict the devices which a user per user can enroll. So I might assume that a single user might have an iPhone, iPad, or a MacBook or a laptop. So if they want to register their own device, I will either permit with just 3 devices to the maximum. If not, for a safer side, I'll go with 4. And moreover, whenever any user tries to enroll the devices themselves via self-enrollment technique, I will also get a notification alert about it. And if it is an Apple device, I would like to map them to the contractors group automatically. Same goes for Android. So this might help me in a way where whenever a user registers the devices through this method, whatever restrictions or whatever configurations like email profile or application distributed to this group will be automatically applied to the members added via this email or the self-enrollment method. So let's assume an Android user accesses this particular URL from their browser and automatically downloads the MDM app onto his device, and the end user has to update the MDM server information on the app, which in turn will prompt the users to provide the AD username and password. So this is what a self-enrollment process will look like. The end user can access this link from any browsers they have, which in turn will download the MDM app for Android and prompt the users to provide their AD username and password, which in turn will complete the enrollment. And now let me show you how you can onboard the new devices. So far, the 2 methods, what you could see on the top section under enrollment, either with sending an email invite based on the appropriate OS or self-enrollment. These 2 methods are ideal for the devices which are already in use and which gives you a profile owner, like say only the work profile will be managed by the MDM administrator. But when it comes to enrolling new devices, you might come up with a requirement that the initial setup has to be completed manually, and also the end user has to update their Apple ID and all of their information. That is why we have 2 processes or multiple processes where we can automate the enrollment when it comes to new devices. So we have Apple Business Manager integration for Apple devices and zero touch enrollment for Android devices, where you can automate the enrollment process in an easy way. And the benefits of going this way is the automated enrollment technique. So you could silently deploy application because these new devices where you enroll via Apple Business Manager or zero touch enrollment or other administrator method of enrollment gives you a full device management. You could completely manage the device, and which helps you to silently install applications on the devices without the user intervention. And you can also whitelist the applications on the devices, where you can lock down the device with only certain applications. So in case if we have any audience from the educational institutions or who might require to lock their devices only with certain application, then the administrators have to enroll the device via automated enrollment technique. Only then you'll be able to lock your devices with required application. And also you would be able to manage the OS update. So whenever Google or Apple releases an update, you could actually customize the update or configure a downtime in order to upgrade all the devices. And since you're getting the full device management, you as an administrator are eligible to configure any type of restrictions or configuration to the devices via enrolling through these methods. So let me just quickly tell you the process of enrolling the devices via automated method. First, as a prerequisite, you have to have an account with Apple or Google, and the devices has to be either purchased directly from the Apple Store or from authorized reseller. The method which I'm explaining now is for the enrollment of new devices. So the device has to be either purchased directly from Apple Store or from authorized resellers. So first, let me tell you how to enroll the devices with Apple Business Manager account. And this is the workflow of it. You have to integrate the MDM server with Apple Business Manager portal. Once done, add the devices to the ABM portal and then activate the MDM profile. So this is how it will be. So you integrate, add the device, and activate the MDM profile. And then after, since this is a new device, once after the MDM profile is activated, you can just either you can distribute the devices, or if the device had already been distributed, the end user just have to reset the device or turn on the device, which will come up with the MDM profile install on these. And in order to integrate your ABM account with our Manage Engine MDM server, you have to go to the enrollment section, Apple enrollment, where you can download the certificate file again from our MDM, and you need to have an ABM account. And Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager is a free program offered by Apple for business management purpose. And in case if you don't have an account, you do have an option to sign up from here. Once after you signed up with an ABM account, you can sign in and go to the settings section, device management settings, and add your MDM server. So once you click on add MDM server, you'll be able to update your MDM server name, and also the key which you have downloaded from our MDM instance can be uploaded here. So once I've uploaded the certificate file and given the name for my MDM instance, I can just go ahead and click on save, which in turn will prompt me to download the S token. This is again like a two-way handshake. You download the certificate file from our MDM, upload it in the Apple Business Manager portal, then download this S token and upload back to our Manage Engine server. Once done, you could also customize the device startup settings. So if it is a new phone, whenever you turn it on, this might ask the users to configure their Apple ID or Touch ID setup and accepting certain privacy and Siri configurations. If an administrator, if you want to make the device usage ready, as soon as the employees just turn on the device, it should be ready to use. In that scenarios, you can just select all these options and skip the configuration during device setup. And as an admin, I would like to manually go and assign the user to the devices. So I'll just choose auto assign users to be no, and I'll skip these configurations. That's how I integrate the ABM portal with Manage Engine MDM server. Once that is done, you could see the list of devices being enrolled and how many devices are pending to enroll. Likewise, you'll be able to see the basic information about it. Now I've integrated. In order to add the devices to the Apple Business Manager portal and then activating it, you could do it in two ways. One, if you're purchasing the devices from Apple Store directly or from the certain authorized resellers, you can even update the Apple customer numbers or the reseller's ID here, which in turn will make the MDM profile activation more easy. So let's assume I'm purchasing 100 new iPhones and from a certain reseller, and I have updated the reseller IDs here. So what happens when I purchase this way is the reseller itself will approve these devices to the ABM portal and will assign to the appropriate MDM server. So meaning as an admin, I don't have to touch anything. I just need to purchase the devices from these resellers. And if I have updated the reseller IDs here, the end user can just turn on the devices, which will automatically have this MDM profile installed. So I'll buy from the reseller and I would distribute. That's all the devices will be managed from our MDM. In case if the devices are already being purchased and if you still wish to have a full device management, then you could go to device assignment section and update the device serial number. In case if you have them in a CSV file, you can even upload the CSV and assign it to the appropriate MDM server. So once you assign the devices using the serial number to an MDM server, it will automatically activate the MDM profile. And in order to complete the enrollment process, so once after the user turns on the device, the users will get a message like this. It will automatically start to configure the MDM profile on those devices and it will be ready to use. And since the MDM profile is installed, it will come and get listed under the Apple enrollment section. In order to move these devices into the management scope, I'll just need to click on Assign User. So now the devices are under the Stage tab. In order to move these devices from the Stage sections to the Managed tab, I just have to go ahead and assign a user to it. And doing this way, make sure the devices are always managed from our MDM instance. Because I am mapping the device serial number to an appropriate MDM server. So meaning, as long as this particular serial number is mapped to an MDM instance, no matter how many times the end user do a reset or even try to remove the MDM profile on the phone, it will still come back with the management scope. So you'll be able to manage all the devices unless and until an admin goes and release these devices from the ABM portal. So this is an advantage of supervising a device with Apple Business Manager. And now for the Android devices, we have a similar process called Zero Touch Enrollment. We would say the Apple Business Manager and Zero Touch Enrollment or Knox Mobile Enrollment and Azure Enrollments are the enrollment methods to provision the devices over the air. So you just need to have the device serial number and you'll be able to install the MDM profile on these devices. So in order to integrate with Zero Touch Portal, you can find the steps here. Again, you need to have a Google account and where the reseller has to approve your account with Zero Touch Portal. Once done, you can log into this portal and add your server details. So you have the configuration section. So this is how the Zero Touch Portal will look like. You have to click on Configurations tab and add the configuration and update your MDM server information here. And the DPZ extras is something like how you download the public key for Apple Business Manager. So you have to copy this particular file or the information and then update it under the Zero Touch Portal. So this way you can add a configuration for your MDM instance. Once done, you can go to the devices section and assign the devices to the appropriate configuration or the MDM server you've added under Zero Touch Portal. This is again based on the serial number. So you have to update the serial number of the devices here and assign it to the MDM instance. And once done, the end user just needs to turn on the device, which will automatically prompt up to this page. And it will just come back and sit under the setup your device with the MDM account on it. The end user will not be able to skip these settings. They have to just accept and continue. And it will automatically start to set up the workspace account and the device will be managed using our MDM product. So these are the list of enrollment methods we have. I'll just give you a quick overview about it. So for the devices which are already in use, you could go with email invite or self-enrollment. But when it comes to new devices or the devices which you're looking for full device management, it could be a company device, but it is already with the employees and they're using it. But still, if you wish to have this full device management features like silently deploying applications on the device, unlocking the devices with certain applications alone, or if you wish to take remote control of these devices, then you must enroll the devices with these methods. An Apple Business Manager and Zero Touch Enrollment, like I said, or the over-the-air enrollment using the serial number, you'll be able to activate the MDM profile. An Apple Configurator, in case if the devices are not purchased from authorized resellers, and if you still wish to have a complete management, then you have to connect the iPhones or iPad to a MacBook and provision them. Likewise, for Android, we have near field communication feature and EMM token. And for Windows, you have autopilot and IZD type of enrollment. This method will also be discussed under the last week of the training program. So in case if you have any questions or if you like to know how to onboard the devices, what you have under management, please feel free to post them in the chat in case if you need to have a one-on-one session with our expert technicians. You can even register for a free online demo. So now I have enrolled the devices which is already in use and also the new devices. Now I'm going to show you how you can apply certain basic policies to the devices. First, let's assume my administrator or my management have requested for me to configure a passcode policy to all the company devices they have. So as an admin, I'll go to the device management section That is where I can group my devices and assign the required policies and application to it. Let's assume I've already grouped my devices. And when it comes to grouping your device, you can either go with device basis or user basis, meaning a single user might have 2 to 3 devices. And if you want to apply a policy to a user specific, then you do have an option to create a user group. In case if you want to import the user groups from your Active Directory, you do have an option for it. And now, in order to apply the passcode profile, in order to make sure all the corporate phones have a complex secure passcode, I'll just go ahead and create a profile. For iOS, I do have an option to choose a passcode length to be at least 6 digits. So minimum passcode length should be of 6 digits. And if I want to include a special character, so where I want to make the passcode policy more complex, I can add that as well. And in case if the device has been lost or stolen and my management doesn't want to lose the corporate information available on the device, so as an admin, I'll also go with this option where if any user tries to enter or unlock the device with the wrong password for more than 6 times, it automatically do a reset. And moreover, I would like my users to change the password every 3 months. So I will keep the maximum passcode age to be 90 days. So I will create a profile like this. And first, I will recommend you to test this particular profile on a single device. I would recommend all this audience to go with this procedure, which might be better. So you can select a particular device, apply this profile to that device, and make sure this device works fine, or the profile or configurations, whatever you applied, seems to be working fine. Then you can go to the groups and device section and select the appropriate groups and then distribute the required profiles. So I'll create a profile this way and associate to the entire group, making sure the profile has been tested successfully. This is for the iOS device. Now, when it comes to the Android BYOD devices, where it creates a personal application separately and creates a workspace account separately. Now, if I have to configure a complex passcode only to this work profile, then I can achieve the same using the Android profile. You can also make use of this quick options like this. And when it comes to Android personal devices, either you can apply this passcode policy to the entire device, if not just for the work profile. Let's assume I want to configure a PIN lock for the work profile accounts alone. So I'll just go with the number lock and I'll choose the minimum passcode to be at least a 4. And I want to restrict the users from accessing or unlocking the work profile using fingerprint. So it should always be via PIN code. Likewise, you can create a passcode policy for Android or iOS based on the business requirement, and you could distribute your devices. Likewise, after onboarding the devices, if you just want to make sure the devices only connects to a particular Wi-Fi or have this VPN clients pre-configured on these devices, and even if you want to configure Exchange email accounts and custom profiles, you can build a profile based on the business requirement again, and then distribute to the group. So let's assume I would create a Wi-Fi profile and want to make sure the devices will automatically connect to this Wi-Fi range if the SSID is reachable from the range. So I can even choose or pre-configure the passcode information. And as an administrator, I'll be able to configure multiple Wi-Fi profiles under a single profile section. And in case if I have a security or a certificate-based authentication, and we do have an option to upload the required certificate to allow the Wi-Fi profile and save it. So likewise, you can add multiple Wi-Fi profiles and then distribute your devices. At the same time, even if since we're all moving towards the remote work from home scenarios or the remote work culture, if you want to configure VPN clients on all your managed devices, you can either go with the list of VPNs what we support, and you can configure the server name and account information. So automatically, if you go with this dynamic variable, it automatically maps the username. So let's assume I'm deploying this particular VPN profiles to all my users or all the devices I manage. So user information has already been mapped. So when I distribute this particular VPN profile, so based on the username configured on the devices, it will automatically pre-fill. So the end user just have to enter the passcode and make the devices connected to the appropriate VPN client. And if you don't want to configure the VPN clients to the entire device, let's assume only when they access the corporate application, then I want to automatically launch this VPN client, then you can choose the per app VPN feature, using which, let's assume only when the user use Outlook and I want to make sure the devices gets automatically connected to this particular VPN, and I will update these information here. Likewise for Android too, so you will be able to create Wi-Fi VPN clients and even Exchange ActiveSync. I want to pre-configure the Exchange or email server to all the devices I manage, then I can either choose either an online or an on-premise Exchange server. And also I will have the option to choose the email client where exactly these configuration has to be configured. I can just go and choose it has to be configured on the Samsung email application for all the Samsung devices, and for non-Samsung it has to be on the Outlook application. Likewise, you can also choose the appropriate email client you have and then update these details to the Exchange server. So be it any profile you want to create, like I say, a baseline configuration, you can always click on this help article. So be it any profile you just navigate to, you will have the informations about the data which has to be input. Same if it comes to a VPN client, so you can also see what are the details needs to be updated here. So likewise, you build a baseline configuration based on the business requirement. Once that is done, you can go to the groups and devices section, and let's assume I have tested this baseline configuration to few test devices. Now I'm going to apply this to the entire group. I can choose all the groups and apply this profile. And also, if I add new devices into the management scope, automatically the devices will get all the email and VPN clients or Wi-Fi profiles pre-configured on the devices. So in case if you have any questions related to profile management or the enrollment process, please feel free to post them in the chat and our panel can help you. Now, let me show you how you can secure the corporate information on personal devices. Like I said, after this pandemic situation, since we are adapting to this remote work from scenarios, in case if your business requires to manage the personal devices and you want to make sure you also save the corporate information available on these devices, then let me help you how to configure a restriction profile using our MDM. As we all know, the data breach might happen in these three scenarios. One, between the devices. The users might actually transfer the secure document from one device to another device via AirDrop or Bluetooth. How we can apply a restriction profile to stop this. And also, the data breach might happen when the user tries to upload the documents in the cloud services. An hacker might get these documents right when the files are getting uploaded. Moreover, that might be a possibility where the end users can share the corporate information from the corporate apps to the personal application. So like say a document from the Outlook can also be shared via WhatsApp or Skype. So how we can prevent these data breaches using our MDM? That's again using our profile management. So I'm creating an Apple profile. And under restriction, you can restrict sharing the files via AirDrop, and also taking a screenshot or screen recording from the device can also be restricted by enabling these options. And even I can prevent the users from sharing a document from managed application to unmanaged app. So managed app meaning whatever application being distributed through our MDM will be considered to be a managed app. And when I go and enable this restriction, the users will not be able to share the document from the corporate application to personal application, vice versa too. So you can also prevent sharing the data from personal app to corporate application. Likewise, I would also make sure the devices have connect only to the Wi-Fi profile, which is distributed through our MDM. And likewise for Android, you can also restrict the users from doing a factory reset or taking a backup of the data, they can also restrict those options here. And device connectivity wise, so if you wish to prevent the users from sharing the documents via NFC or Bluetooth, you do have an option to turn it off all the time. Likewise, you can create a profile or a restriction profile based on the business requirement, and you can prevent the access of corporate information to personal apps in the same device. And before, this is how the containerization looks like when it comes to an Android device. By default, when you enroll a device via email invite or self-enrollment, you could see the work batch icon for all the corporate application. And by default, when you try to share any documents from this particular corporate application to personal app, will be restricted. But for iOS, you would not see a briefcase icon or a separate option for corporate and personal application, but still, after applying the restrictions like this, let's assume I've restricted to share the data from managed application to unmanaged application. After this, when a user tries to share any documents, they will have the options locked out. So before containerization, if a user tries to open a document from the Outlook, they will have the options like to open it from Dropbox or iBooks likewise. But after applying this particular restriction policy, they will only have the options to open from the corporate application, like say if I've distributed Office or MEMDM through or managed engine product, then the attachment files can be only opened via the corporate application. So this way, I can prevent the data from the corporate data from sharing to the personal applications. Now, let me show you how we can secure your corporate email from unauthorized access. So we have conditional access under our managed engine products. We have it for Exchange email server and also for Office 365 application, which makes sure only the registered devices can get access to these applications or to your Exchange email account. As an administrator, you have to update the details, either an Office or Office 365 or Exchange Online and on-premise based on the email server what you host. You have to update these details and configure the access policy. So either you can configure the policy to all the users or only to selected users. So when I go with selected users, and I can add multiple users here. So when I add this way, these 3 users needs to have the MDM profile or MDM application installed on their devices in order to get the corporate email. So same goes for when you choose the all users. So every user who accesses your Exchange server needs to have the MDM profile installed. And if you can also configure a grace period for, let's assume I'm configuring grace period for 7 days. So for a week, the end users will be able to get emails or send emails. And after that, it will kick out from the email account and the end user has to install the MDM profile in order to get their email account. And also you'll be able to see the list of devices accessing your Exchange account and also the status about it, whether the device are enrolled, if it is not enrolled, and if the grace period is over, you can also see the device status to be blocked. So this is how the workflow will be. You integrate your Exchange server, Office 365 server with our MDM solution, enforce an Exchange access policy with setting a grace period. Then after, only the devices which is enrolled with our MDM can get access to your email account. And you can also choose the grace access policy based on the business requirement you have. And also you can see the device details, which are the devices accessing your Exchange server can also be seen here. And we have also introduced a conditional access for Office 365 and Office 365 MAM policy. This will be specific to the applications of Office 365, whereas this particular policy is for the entire Office 365 application. Make sure only the registered MDM devices can access to your Office applications. And now we've come to the end of the training program where I'm going to share some real-time scenarios and the solutions for it. In case if you have any questions related to securing the corporate information or configuring the Exchange policies or about the enrollment method, please feel free to post them in the chat and our team can help you with it. So first scenario, I would like to show how to enroll the devices if it is not purchased from the authorized resellers, either if it is not purchased from Apple Store directly or from the resellers, how you can get a full device management. So for that, we have this Apple Business Manager. Sorry, for if the device is not purchased with Apple Store or from resellers, then you can go with Apple Configurator technique. Like I said, this method, in order to supervise the device or get a full device management, you have to connect the devices to a MacBook which has Apple Configurator 2.0 and above, and you can configure these details. So create a Wi-Fi profile and create a blueprint of it, update the MDM server informations in the Apple Configurator. Once this is done, once after you follow the on-screen instruction, then you can connect all your iPhones or iPad to that MacBook and distribute this blueprint you created. So this makes sure the devices are supervised. And the difference between Apple Configurator and Apple Business Manager is, via Apple Business Manager, you can enroll the devices over the air. So you just need to have the device serial number and you'll be able to install or activate the MDM profile on them, and which needs the device to be purchased from Apple Store or resellers. But when it comes to Apple Configurator, still you can get the full device management functionalities, but you need to physically have these devices on hand, then connect to a MacBook and then activate the MDM profile on them. Same case, if you have certain Android devices which doesn't support the zero touch enrollment, how you would be able to get a full device management on that. So you have EMM token for that, where you can just scan the QR code. Remember, it should either be a new device or after doing a factory reset, when you turn on the device, you would see an option like this. Tap the screen 6 times, which will open a code scanner, and scanning this particular QR code will register the device with administrator mode. So the methods, whatever you see under the OS name, like say for Apple and Android and Windows, these are administrator type of enrollment, which gets you the full device management capabilities. So EMM token is one such method, and NFC enrollment is using the near field communication feature. You can, as an administrator, you can install the NFC enrollment app on your phone. Then after doing a reset, or if it is a brand new device, turn on the device and bump the devices by enabling the enrollment app, which will automatically distribute the MDM profile on it. So these two methods are, well, might be helpful if the device doesn't support zero touch enrollment. And Knox mobile enrollment is a dedicated enrollment method for Samsung devices. And again, this uses the same protocol like what we saw for Zero Touch and Apple Business Manager. So using the Samsung device's serial number, you'll be able to activate the MDM profile on that. And third scenario I would like to show is what happens if two contradictory profiles are applied to the device. This might be a doubt which I have faced in my support experience, where a lot of customers would prompt or would ask for. So if there are two contradictory profiles, when it comes to an iOS device, let's assume you have distributed a profile by disabling the camera. And in the second profile, if you have enabled the camera functionality and distribute to an iOS device, still the camera will be disabled for iOS, because the most stringent or the most strict policy will take precedence for iOS. But in case of Android, if you have enable the camera in the second profile and distribute on an Android device, it will enable it. So the recent or the latest profile will apply to an Android device, whereas the most strict policies will get applied to iOS. So if you want to allow the camera functionality for iOS, you have to edit the very same first profile which you restricted, and then allow the permission and redistribute. And fourth scenario, how we can ensure users connect only to the Wi-Fi which is distributed by MDM. Like I said, this could be even a security aspect where certain administrator would want to make sure the device connects only to the corporate Wi-Fi range. So and then you can create a profile. First, in order to configure the Wi-Fi SSID or Wi-Fi profiles based on the business requirement, you can just update these informations and save the profile. And in order to restrict the devices connecting to any other Wi-Fi apart from the one which we distribute through MDM, you have the option under restriction, network and roaming, and choose the option connect to Wi-Fi only if it is distributed via MDM, and choose this as S. So this way you can restrict the users or devices connected to any other Wi-Fi. And fifth scenario, so how you can prevent certain sensitive corporate information being displayed on the device lock screen. So even though if a senior management people or the employees lock their screen and the notification would have the sensitive information being displayed, how we can prevent such happening. So we have the same restriction policy here. Under security, you have lock screen notification preference, where you can either choose to hide the sensitive content, if not, do not show the notification at all. So likewise, you can create a profile based on the business requirement you have and then distribute to your devices. So these are the 5 scenarios which I would like to share it in today's webinar. In case if you have any questions, please feel free to post, and in the upcoming training session, we'll try to discuss that on the slides. And that's all. We've come to the end of the training. Please rate us on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is being the best. And since we are connected through the social media platform, if you like our training program, please use the hashtag /mobile device manager plus /manage engine and spread your love. And next week, it will be about the app management, how to install, uninstall, and update application to your devices, and how we can configure certain additional security policies will be discussed in the next week. We have 2 sessions, one at 6:30 GMT and 11:30 Eastern Time. And I thank each and everyone for joining the webinar, even in this outbreak situation. I request everyone to take care of yourself and family. Stay safe, and thank you all. And in case if you have, if you'd like to check about any of these endpoint management products, please feel free to post them in the chat, and our panel team can help you in scheduling a one-on-one session. Thank you again. Take care.